Hello, welcome. My name is Tracy Powers. I'm a life and relationship coach. I'm coming in live here and thinking of anyone who's watching this on the replay. Earlier this week, I made a reel about preventing defensiveness in our communication with people we're in relationship with. And I don't know if you're familiar with Instagram Reels. It's one of those new avenues, but they're limited to 90 seconds. So I jumped out there, threw in some 6 quick tips, and I wanted to come in and flesh it out a little bit more because I think this is a topic that many people face. I think we all have those people in our lives that we feel are just get so defensive around us. And sure, they may be more prone to that, but we all have the tendency to become defensive in our communication with each other. We all have that realm of possibility for ourselves. And one reason for that is that the most powerful force in the human psyche is that we are consistent with our identity. So if anything calls into question how we think or view about ourselves or our position, our perspective, our natural tendency is going to be to defend that. So that's why it's important to have these skills going into communication with people you're working with, you're in a deeper relationship with, so that you can prevent this from happening and you can get farther in your relating and your communicating. So the first thing I wanted to share about preventing defensiveness really is about not making assumptions. So let's say there's a conflict and then you want to go and have a communication with this person, clear things up, try and figure it out, sort it out, solve it, get healing around it. You already have your perspective in mind, and you may already have an assumption based on your perspective about their perspective. You may feel really right about your perspective. And especially for people who consider themselves to be empathetic, I find this to be a place to really look out for, because you may believe or know or just think you have a sense of what someone is feeling, what they are going through, why they did the thing they did. But really, no matter how empathetic we are, we don't always know what they're feeling, what they're thinking. We have to give space for their perspective. We can't automatically assume we know. To do that is not really great form of relating. It can actually feel a little abusive to assume you know someone better than they know themselves. So that's a space to really look out for and to just stay curious and open and ask questions about their perspective and really give them space to state it on their own without you making assumptions about it. And when we feel like we know someone for a long time, we may really think we know why they're doing the thing that they're doing, what's motivating them. But still, we're within our own story, our own wounding, our own history, and we have to give space for their history, their wounding, their experience as well. And so that's a space to really ask questions, don't make assumptions. And that's where I wanted to lead into the use of I statements. So the use of I statements comes up a lot in different forms of therapy, and especially in nonviolent communication, which is an amazing place to dig in if you're interested in improving your communication. And this really keeps someone from having to defend their position, because you're not stating what you believe their position is. All you're stating is your experience and your feelings. So you stay out of the lane of using the word you, and you stick to using the word I. So when this happened, I felt, I experienced, instead of when you did this, it made me feel this way. So automatically, anytime you say you did, you felt, you said, someone will feel the need to protect and defend their position, to state how they were feeling. And so this is why defensiveness has such a close relationship with validation. So we all have the need and the desire in our relationships to feel validated, to feel seen, to feel understood. And that's why it's really important to give space for someone to validate their experience and for you to give space to validate your experience, so no one's working in the realm of needing to defend that experience. So we give space for both. This is another place where it's really good to think about using the word seems like. So instead of, this is what happened, this is how you felt, this is what it made me feel, is it seems like this is what we're experiencing. Does that feel true to you? Seems like is a magic tool. I learned that from Allison Armstrong, who's an amazing teacher. And it just really gives space that you're not saying it's true, you're not saying it's right. You're also staying out of the realms of feelings, it feels like, which is very close to people's heart, to their truth. So it seems like instead of feels like can make a big difference in communicating. So use of I statements, stay curious, make questions, give space to listen to the answers, do not interrupt. And another thing that comes along with this is giving space to not agree. So it's going to be really hard to get to a place where, yep, I did that the way you said I did that, and I'm sorry. But we can find a space in between where we're validating both people's experience, and they don't have to be opposite. One doesn't have to be true, the other one be false. This is a place where you may say, I totally understand how you feel that way and why you feel that way. And you may want to experiment with eating something a little bit, which means actually apologizing for something that you don't feel you did wrong. Apologizing for how whatever happened affected them, knowing that they have hurt feelings even if you didn't intend to hurt their feelings. They need to be seen and validated and known that they have boundaries, they have needs, and if they haven't been met, even if it's not your intention or you didn't cause harm, an apology can go a really long way to begin that healing and that reconnection back together. And it's okay to also say, that really wasn't my intention. I didn't want you to get hurt, and I'm so sorry you were hurt. So that you're both experiencing validation and you're both in a space to rebuild, reconnect, and come out stronger on the other side. Another thing that sometimes happens that I talked about in that reel is the use of the words always and never. So to avoid someone becoming defensive, you want to stay out of the lane of using those words. Because let's be honest, there isn't a case where it's always, and there isn't a case where it's never. There's usually a big, huge gray area. But when we're upset, we can throw out those words like candy. We can feel like that's true, that's our experience. But those are absolutes, those are black and whites. And someone will automatically need to defend their position and say, that's not true. I don't always do that. It's not never, sometimes I do. So definitely watch out for those words, avoid always and never. So this is really just giving space, expressing yourself, giving space for someone else to also express themselves, not putting them in a box, not putting them in a corner. And yeah, some people may be a little bit more defensive, but the more space you can give, the more sensitive you can be to these things like using always never, making apologies, sticking to your I statements. And also, when it's someone you've been in relationship with for a while or been working with for a while, you may start to get a feeling for what upsets them. There may even be certain words or certain triggers that you're aware of. And out of kindness and in the realm of trying to stay out of further conflict, stay out of defensiveness, it's just helpful that you avoid using anything that you already know they'd be sensitive to or triggered by. Because once someone is triggered, the quality of your communication and the chance for healing or restoring or coming to an agreement is shot. When someone is triggered, there's no chance. There's no possibility until you then address the trigger. They may need space, they may need time, they may need an apology, but you're not going to get anywhere. And this is something people do in communication, in discussions. They feel like they need to keep going until there's something is solved, until there's an answer, until they feel complete. But what we need to really think about with each other is keeping each other in a good state and creating a constant dynamic as much as we possibly can of kindness, of understanding, of curiosity, so that that connection can happen. And to keep the dynamic healthy and curious and able to make connection, you may have to stop and step away and say, I can see we're both upset right now, and this conversation isn't going any further. We're not getting to an answer. So out of kindness for you, out of kindness for myself, out of respect for our relationship, I think we should take a break and come back. And so don't keep pushing. You don't need an answer. There may be tension that arises in you that feels like you really need to solve this, but once one or both of you is triggered, you can't until you fix the trigger. So it's okay to take that time. Actually, it's best to take that time or to slow down, make sure you have time to care for the other person, address the trigger, and then come back and try again once goodwill and faith and kindness is restored. Once you feel like you're no longer in that adversarial position, once you feel like no one has to be defensive again, then you can come back and try again. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope you can see that defensiveness just isn't one person's quality. It's something that we are all capable of. When push comes to shove, we will defend ourselves, we will defend our identity, and we will defend our perspective and our position. So just being really thoughtful about that for ourselves and for each other, we can have better relating, we can create more depth, we can create more intimacy, we can create more kindness, and that's where the juice really is. So I hope this has been helpful for you. If you know anyone that this may be helpful for, please share. And I can be found at tracypowerslove.com. That's Tracy with just a Y. And I hope to see you again some other time with more helpful tidbits. I'm also available if you want to dive deeper into any of this for one-on-one coaching. I'd be happy to set up just a call to chat and help you through this. And then if we figure we want to work together further in a different container, I'd be happy to address that too. So sending lots of love. Bye.